manage less, live more is like one of our sayings. Use Lulo, manage less, live more. And that's sort of like what we're trying to tackle here. Lulo, I like to think of Lulo as a unicorn. I do think like we could be a project that births out of crypto that does onboard millions and millions of people. Q1 2024, so Jan 1 to April 1 of this year, our average user for USDC earned 25.6% APY. Unbelievable. Yeah, phenomenal. Impressive. Like super fucking crazy.
I sat down with Maurice from Lulo. As the head of growth, he's seen the product blossom, and in this interview, we unravel the basics of Lulo and some interesting insights regarding the future direction and how it can benefit the consumer. So, make sure to stick around until the end to fully understand this revolutionary new take on DeFi savings. There we go. Okay. Hello. Good morning, and welcome to The Wave. We are here today with Maurice. Unfortunately, we're missing Wookie here today. He wasn't able to make it, but happy to be here with Maurice from Lulo. If you want to just get us started by introducing yourself and telling us a little bit about what you do on the team.
Yeah, absolutely. So my name's Maurice. I'm Solana OG, for loss of a better way to put it. Been in the ecosystem since Q1 2021, building something or another. A former Monkey DAO elected executive, held a few CMO positions, and now I'm at Lulo, formerly known as FlexLend for some of the people that have been following us for a while but might have missed out. And my title's head of growth, but in crypto, that means a lot of things. So I do marketing, BD, PR, comms, creative direction, community management, and a few other things, but that's my core role right now, I would say, is BD, and marketing is where I'm hyper focused.
Perfect. Yeah. And I can tell you've been doing a great job at it since, I've seen Lulo everywhere. I'm sure a lot of people have seen it as well. Do you want to just give us the elevator pitch about the product and like what you guys are building over there?
Absolutely. So for the Solana native or crypto native or, Solana person, we're the only lending aggregator currently functioning on Solana. For new entrants or for like where we want to go, the mission is a DeFi savings account. That's the elevator pitch. And then if you wanted to go like 1 inch deeper, as a lending aggregator and as a savings account, Lulo has integrated the top 5 liquidity venues on Solana: MarginFi, Camino, Drift, Mango, and Solend. And what we do is if you create a normal order when you come into the protocol, we'll route for the highest rate available. And then every 60 minutes, we'll reroute your order for you. Manage less, live more is like one of our sayings. Use Lulo, manage less, live more. And that's sort of like what we're trying to tackle here at Lulo is DeFi is complicated, it's not personalized, and it's really hard to do anything outside of a swap on Jupiter if you're new to the ecosystem. There's multifacets, multiple places we could dig in there, so I'll let you double click on whatever you want.
Yeah, absolutely. There's a lot of questions I have about what specifically many of the things you just said. So
cool.
First of all, you said 60 minutes is every time you aggregate that. About why exactly is it 60 minutes? Would it be better if it was faster? Is that like the technical capabilities?
So right now Lulo covers all the transaction fees associated with rerouting user deposits. We have a 0.025 SOL account creation cost. For people that are a little more technical, it's to spin up a PDA for you, which is a program derived address. It's basically like a hot wallet, for loss of a better way to think about it, that is programmatically managed by a smart contract. So no human being can actually like deposit and withdraw from it. It has to be through a program. So why we've done every 60 minutes is just, it made sense. I think there's probably some financial math behind it that I probably should be able to speak to a little more clearly. But we have discussed internally about when we monetize or when we do like a freemium or premium model, like maybe we should integrate a button that allows someone to automatically route it at their leisure for some kind of fee or some kind of, whatever cost. But yeah, like I don't have a much better reason other than it is the way that we've set up the system. And I would assume, based on my experience watching how our system works, if we were to reroute too often, we'd be swinging rates all over the place. And we have noticed that as we grow, currently we're about 13 million in directed liquidity. And I could explain what directed liquidity means in a second. But we've noticed that we can swing rates, and that actually works against us, right? We do want some equilibrium, and it's something that like we've seen happen through our protocol, through our work, is like we'll see rates stabilize across the market, which is actually net positive for everybody.
Okay, that makes sense. And then also, just I'm going to dissect what you
Yeah,
said last time.
please. Please.
So you also mentioned that you're the first and the only, I think, li- what's the
Lending
correct term?
aggregator.
Lending aggregator.
Yeah.
Perfect. Yeah. Are there people building something similar to you right now that
Oh
you're
yeah.
aware of? Okay, so
Oh
it's
yeah.
a little
Oh
bit of
yeah.
a competition at the moment.
I mean, we definitely have first mover advantage.
Okay.
We have the team that we have, and I'm part of that team. And I think what we have accomplished to date is phenomenal, and what we plan on building in the future is, amazing. I like to think of Lulo as a unicorn. I do think like we could be a project that births out of crypto that does onboard millions and millions of people. But the first mover advantage, the connections that we have, but also like we're keeping it really simple. And we've noticed that a lot of the other competitors that are either building for hackathons or about to launch but haven't launched, and they've talked about launching for weeks or months now and still haven't come to market. There's a lot of intricacies to building this that have to be taken into account, because it's not very complicated
Yeah.
on the high level, right? We're not talking like crazy formulas and calculations for the smart contracts. It's pretty simple, but um, it's kind of like really good food. Like a really great steak doesn't need a ton of stuff with it. If you just do it simply and well, then that's how it should be served. So yes, there's competition. That was a very long-winded answer. I could name a few projects, but I'm not going to give them airspace.
Yeah, that's better. But I do think competition breeds creativity and innovation, which is a good way to.
Absolutely.
We always ask that on the wave. Just it's kind of like a routine at this point
Absolutely.
because we like to emphasize that as a point. But yeah, no, I think that's a great answer. I think you guys are doing a great job keeping it simple. To be honest with you.
Thank you.
And then this leads me on to my next question, which is your branding and the marketing that you guys are doing. You mentioned also that you're going to be monetizing this, I guess, to like a larger audience beyond Web3. If you could give me a little bit more
Yeah.
detail about that, that'd be great.
Yeah, absolutely. You might have to remind me of the second follow-up
Okay,
question,
perfect.
because I'm going to dig into
I
the
see a little,
branding
a
and
little
marketing
compound
now.
question right there.
Yeah, absolutely. I love it. I love it. So, my background is in the fashion industry, photography, or cycling, just super all over the place. But I've always been very, very like brand focused and brand oriented. And like I have my favorite brands, and I learned through, self teaching, like being autodidactic and like studying people I respect. Branding is not a visual, it's not a logo, it's not a typeface, it's not a saying, it's an emotional reaction. And when you can elicit an emotional reaction from someone, you build brand loyalty, right? Like Nike makes me feel empowered, it makes me feel powerful, it makes me feel like I could overcome any obstacle. And that's a result of great product, great branding, and consistency. And that's something that like I'm really focused on with Lulo. Like we have a very, very simple product, right? Put your money in, earn more yield or interest than you would at a traditional bank. That's how we talk to, normal people. And then for the crypto people, it's why would you manage lending positions all day long when we could do it for you? So what I'm trying to do with Lulo on the brand side is like build this emotional reaction or connection, and that's from the brand marketing, and then there's product marketing that has to support it as well. So I've gone kind of deep on the like mimicking things from the real world that people are familiar with. So I've always been a fan of Apple. I'm a diehard Apple fan, right? I have this emotional reaction to Apple. So one of the first things I thought of was like, let's lend different instead of think different, right? And now as we've grown, it's become save different. And then kind of like building, I've said it earlier, but like use Lulo, manage less, live more. Like I don't want to be sitting at a screen all day. Like I don't, honestly. If I can make my money and travel the world and eat at crazy restaurants and, go hang out with my friends and spend time on the beach, like I want to get away from screens. And I suspect most people do as well, right? We're a little different age gap, but like your generation and my generation, we're looking more and more for experience, right? We want to live life. We want to go out. We want to do stuff. Even if it's for cloud on Instagram, I still want you to be able to do that, right? But if you're stuck at home all day long trying to figure out how you're going to make your money, that might not work. So trying to strum the heartstrings is like a big thing for me with Lulo. I think there should be some fun stuff in the next few days and weeks. And yeah, the last thing I would say on that, because I'm long-winded sometimes, we're constantly listening to what our users say, and we're taking user feedback, not only for the product, but also how we talk about the product, how we market the product, basically like what we do outside of product building for the community. And now I need the reminder of the second follow-up compound question.
Yeah, I just want to say real quick, I think that's a great response. Like honestly, that's an incredible response. Like I caught a lot of things in there that like, obviously related to me personally and to many other people, I'm sure, because there's so many people who are sitting at their computer every day, working for these yields, and you're just simplifying that to an extent. And that just reminded me of another question, but I'll go to the one that I was going to give you before.
Okay,
which is we were talking. I know you mentioned this a little bit in your response, but it's about like how you're reaching like the normies, I guess, and the people outside of crypto.
Yeah. So before the podcast started, Combat and I were talking for the audience listening, and I started talking about Instagram and how Instagram has 2 billion plus active users, whereas Twitter only has 500 million. And if we really want to expand crypto, blockchain, Web3 tech outside of our little bubble, which is quite a little bubble for anybody that, that's the reality. We need to expand our reach, and we need to meet people where they're at, and we need to talk to people the way that they're used to being, used to listening. So Instagram has been something that I want to put more time and effort into, but truth be told, I build content for Twitter and then we recycle it to Instagram. But over the last few weeks, we've been tailoring the Twitter content so it's actually more appropriate for Instagram. So like videos and reels, and really trying to like hit the human nature of things too. I think that's something that people forget, like, especially in crypto where it's all like digital and on the computer, and you're not really like looking at faces and talking to people face to face in the same way. Humans react much better to faces, and we're hardwired to react and visually see it better and synthesize it better. So, also trying to take that into account with the marketing that we're doing, which is far more appropriate on Instagram, which is like a visual photo image focused platform. So I think I answered the question there.
Yeah, absolutely. And okay. I mean, I couldn't agree more, to be honest with you, because I've talked to a lot of people about this. Again, this is one of those recurring conversations that we have on the wave, which is great because, you hear a bunch of different perspectives. And I think that everyone is pretty much on the same consensus that, seeing a face is super important, especially on Instagram, because people's goals on Twitter versus Instagram are very different. On Twitter, obviously, some people might be looking for this directly, but on Instagram, people are looking for that like quick hit of dopamine, and you kind of have to insert yourself in there in a way that gives them that, but also, like has either a call to action or some way that relates back to your product. And I think people like Soul Jakey, all of these other content creators on Solana are absolutely killing it on that front.
Yeah. And I think it's interesting, like, what is part of the success that Jakey has had? Like, what can you attribute Jakey's success to? I think in large part, it's he's putting his face out there, right? And it's a lot of like visual photo content and then video content. And people can relate better to a human being than they can to a Pepe drawing. And I use a lot of Pepe drawings, so don't get me wrong, but like I think it's super smart and brilliant. And I think like, you know, we can mimic and mimicry is the utmost form of flattery. So Jakey, if you see us ever copying your content, don't get mad at me.
Yeah, no, I think you're right on that, and I think that's something like I said we see a lot on the wave. It's just people talking. We talk about Jakey a lot on here too. Don't get me wrong. So it's great. We even had him on a few times, and he agrees with all of this. So I think it's great. But that leads
Sweet.
me on to my next question as well, which is you also mentioned that it's easier to do this and it's more profitable, I guess, than a bank account. Which brings me to the question of your yields. And as a sidebar, how do your yields like compare to just staking Solana on the network, which is I think what a lot of people see as a very safe option.
Yeah.
But yeah,
So probably worth clarifying that Lulo's prime product market fit is for USDC and USDT. Excuse me. We have plenty of Sol that we are moving around the ecosystem. We have Jupe, Bonk, JitoSol, MSol, BSol. But I think like 80% of our total like assets under management is USDC or USDT. I actually got a ping while we were in this chat. The only window I have open, by the way, is our team Discord. We crossed 13 million in directed liquidity. So let
that's
me
big
just,
news. Yeah.
yeah, it's awesome. All organic, no paid influencers, no, tag three friends, like and retweet, like pure organic brand and product marketing from my perspective. But so if you want to maximize your yield or you want to maximize the interest you can earn on your Sol, total full transparency, you should stake it to a validator or you should hold an LST. You don't put your Sol into Lulo to get 10% APY on your Sol. It's just like not likely. But for USDC and USDT a little less so, the lending yields, right, the savings rates that we can access for our users are determined by how much borrow interest, aka how much are traders leveraging up in the ecosystem. And the more traders trade and the more traders borrow, the better yield users from our platform get access to. And again, we're not setting the rates. Camino, MarginFi, Sola, and Drift and Mango, they all set the rates. Or they don't set the rates are set by the market, right? But they facilitate it. If you look at Drift recently, they've been the ecosystem leaders for USDC yield over the last few days specifically, but the last 2 or 3 weeks, because we've seen a lot of leverage trading over there. People are getting liquidated, are, underwater, but staying underwater because they don't want to like close out the position. So I don't know if I answered your question about yield because I went on a long tangent. Bring me back to reality if you need
No,
to.
I think you answered it pretty well. The only thing like to clarify is the like the percentages. Obviously they fluctuate, I'm sure, but like right
Yeah.
now, what's the like range would you say for
Yeah.
the yield?
Yeah. So the range right now is somewhere between like 10 and 15% APY. That's compounding interest by the minute. And that's something very, very important to highlight for anyone that's like new to the ecosystem or just learning about DeFi. When you gain interest in crypto, and specifically when you're lending USDC or USDT or any other asset through Lulo to these integrated protocols, you're earning compound interest. In the real world, you're earning simple interest, and it's usually paid out on the month or the quarter or the year. That's very, very low interest, right? It's not outpacing inflation. It's not even meeting inflation. So to specifically answer your question, 10 to 15% has been what I've been seeing, what we've been seeing the last few weeks. Q1 2024, so Jan 1 to April 1 of this year, our average user for USDC earned 25.6% APY.
Okay, yeah, that's impressive.
Unbelievable.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
super impressive.
phenomenal. Like super fucking crazy. And again, we're just like those rates though, and that's something that we need to be realistic about. Those rates are dependent on the market, right? Like we can't facilitate them, we can't maintain them, we can't promise them. But what we can promise is we'll always do our best to rate maximize the yield you can get on your USDC or USDT, also sold, juke, bonk, all the others, but that's where the product market fit is really most appropriate. Also why we're so pushy and adamant about the DeFi savings account,
Hmm.
because when you think of savings accounts, you think of dollars.
Yeah. Okay. That's a great answer. That's really exactly, really, it's exactly what I was looking for.
Okay,
So
cool. Cool,
props to
cool,
you
cool.
for that. I'm really running out of questions here. So if there's
No
anything
problem.
you want to add or anything you want to tell me about the product that maybe I missed, feel free. If not, we'll go
Yeah.
ahead and close it off.
Yeah, no, I don't think there's anything to miss, but what I would say is there's a few things that like I'd love to hit home. Basically, savings accounts in the real world, I shouldn't say that. Savings accounts in traditional finance are not built to really benefit people like you and I, right? They offer very low yield. They usually have caps and minimums, and you have to maintain balances. And the average simple interest offered in the United States of America is 0.47%. That's the average interest offered in the savings account in the US. That doesn't even come close to matching inflation. So if you have dollars sitting idle on the side and they're not earning at least the 5 or 6% minimum rate to match inflation, you're losing purchasing power day in, day out. And that's something that a lot of people are struggling to I think a lot of people don't quite understand that concept, right? So something that we're working on more and more, and I'm very excited to share with you off the podcast who
Okay.
we're doing it with. But we're gonna work on more like financial education, financial literacy. It's something that I want to improve. It's something I think a lot of people in our space can benefit from. Right? We're surrounded by people constantly chasing gambling. Chasing 100x yield or 100x meme coin plays and not budgeting and FOMO and YOLO and I think there's a lot of benefit that we could provide to the ecosystem by doing some education. And then outside of that, we would love to get feedback. We'd love to hear what people think about using our product. What can we build for you? How can we improve what we have today? Right now, on the midterm, long term, the vision is to get insurance, debit cards, fiat on ramp, off ramp, perks, like airline miles. But how can we do it for us? But yeah, I've rambled enough. I'm gonna leave it there. Follow Lulo on Twitter. Use Lulo. We're also on Instagram at Get Lulo because someone else already had our username. And yeah, we'd love to chat with you in our Discord or Telegram. And yeah, we're building this for everybody listening and everybody that has yet to hear the pod. So thanks so much.
Thank you so much, Maurice, and I appreciate you for coming on again. Thank you for everything again. Like I said, there's just so many, things that I learned out of this interview. To be honest with you, because I'm not super big into DeFi, but I really got a lot out of it. So thankful for that. I appreciate
Love
it.
it. Love it. Thank you, Wombat. Appreciate you, brother.
All right, perfect. Without further ado, we'll end it there. This has been The Wave with Maurice, and we'll see you next time. Thank you.